Hey everyone, this is Kavita from Craft Doodling Designs. This is my Mika Vest pattern. I have picked up stitches for the button band and I'm ready to start knitting my button band. The button band will also be knit in double knit fabric. I have started picking up stitches from the left side, which is actually the right side when you are wearing the cardigan, and then along the V and across the cast on stitches, across the back stitches, and along the V again and the uh, left front. Now I've picked up stitches at the rate of one stitch per row almost. Now the number of stitches you pick up will depend on your row gauge. What you can make sure is the number of stitches along the V on both sides should be equal, and the number of stitches along both the fronts should be equal. That will ensure that the button band lies flat and looks even. Now, after picking up the stitches, I have also cut my yarn. I'll be using my smaller needle to start knitting the double knit button band. Now my armhole trim is about 1 inch wide. You can have your button band the same width, or you can choose to make it a little bit wider. What to watch out for here is when you are trying to button up the cardigan, you don't want these stitches to pull out too much and show the gaps. I'm ready to cast on for my double knit button band. I'm using my smaller needle, which is 3.75 millimeter. So I'm going to cast on a total of 11 stitches. On my first setup row, I'll cast on 6 stitches using long tail cast on. That is 6 stitches cast on. On this next setup row, I'm going to be doing knit 1, cast on 1, knit 1, cast on 1 alternatively for the other side of the double knit trim. So I am going to be using E cast on or backwards loop cast on for this one. Knit 1, E cast on 1, knit 1, cast on 1, knit 1, cast on 1, knit 1, that is 10 stitches, and here is my 11th stitch, which I'll be knitting together through the back loop with my first picked up stitch. So I'm going to put this stitch onto this needle, knit it together through the back loop. So that is the setup rows for the double knit trim done. Now let's start knitting the trim. As we know, The double knit trim is going to look the same on both sides, but this is the side that is worked while looking at the wrong side of your sweater fabric. So you're going to slip the first stitch, knit the next one, slip one with yarn in front purlwise, knit one, slip one with yarn in front purlwise, knit one, slip one with yarn in front purlwise, knit one, slip one with yarn in front purlwise, knit one, and slip the last stitch. Turn your work. This is the second double knit row, which is knit while looking at the right side of the sweater fabric, which will be the same 2 stitches in a different order. Knit one, slip one with yarn in front purlwise, knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, one, slip one, and this last stitch will be knitted together through the back loop with the next stitch available on the spare needle. So these are the 2 rows for the double knit fabric.
So how to plan for the placement of your buttonholes? I'm planning to add 6 buttons to my vest. So one will go right at the bottom of the V shaping here like this, and one will be right just before the bottom hem ends here, which I've already done. Now the rest of the buttons or the buttonholes should be distributed between these two. To do that, I measured the distance between my first and the last button, which is about 13 inches for me, and then divide that number by the total number of buttons I'm planning to add minus 1. Since I'm planning to add 6 buttons, so 13 inches divided by 5 will be 2.5 inches. So I placed markers 2.5 inches apart between the first and the last marker. So that is my placement for 6 buttonholes, and will also be the placement for the 6 buttons later on.
So now you can see I have knit my button band just past this hem here, and this is the spot I want to have a buttonhole. So I'm going to start knitting my buttonhole. So this is a short row buttonhole where we will be knitting across 1/2 of the stitches and then turning our work and knitting across the other side of the double knit fabric. So in this way, you will grow the fabric on one side only until it is sufficient for your button to pass through. And then you will knit the same height on the other side of the fabric and close the buttonhole and continue to knit. So this is the first short row. Knit one, slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one, knit one. I've knit across half of my stitches. Now I'm going to turn my work and knit the other side of the button band. Slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one. Now I have knit one set of short rows across these 5 stitches. I'm going to try and see if this is good for my button already. So I'm going to temporarily slip my stitches onto the right needle. And check it against my button. So you can see the short rows that I have knit is already crossing the center of my button. So I'm going to stop working short rows on this side and work the same number of short rows on this side of the double knit fabric. So before working the short rows on this half of the double knit fabric, I'm going to do a yarn over. And then slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front, knit one, slip one with yarn in front. And for the last stitch, we are again going to knit it together with the next available stitch on the needle. Now turn your work. This will be another short row worked on this half of the button band. Slip one, knit one, slip one, slip one. So the next stitch is a knit stitch, and this is the yarn over that we had made. So I'm going to knit them together now. Continue knitting across the other side. So that's how my buttonhole looks right now. I'm going to knit a couple more rows and then show it to you again. So this is how the short row buttonhole looks on the double knit fabric. You can see that it's a very sturdy buttonhole because of the double knit fabric. And the button can easily pass through. Like so. I had done only one set of short rows on either side, and I had also done only one yarn over between the two sets of short rows. Depending on your button height, you might want to do 2 sets of short rows or 3 sets of short rows. In that case, you will also be working the same number of yarn overs before moving to the other side. And then when you're working the short rows on this side of the fabric, for each set of short row, you will work the last stitch together with one of the yarn overs that you have created extra. And then finally, when all your yarn overs are done, you're going to knit across the fabric and continue the double knit fabric. Now let's take a look at how to bind off the button band. I've just finished knitting a row while facing the right side of the sweater fabric. Now I'm going to turn to the other side. So I'm now ready to bind off. So on this row, I'm going to slip the first stitch with yarn in front purlwise. And then the rest of the stitches, I'm going to purl them together in pairs. Purl two together, purl two together, all together until end of row. So the reason we are doing this is we started with 6 stitches and now we want to end with 6 stitches and bind off as similarly as possible to the cast on edge. So we had used long tail cast on and I'm going to use a regular bind off in this row. So this is the bind off edge, which looks as close as possible to the cast on edge. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial and learned about the double knit button band. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.